Medellín, Colombia. The late 1980s. The streets are alive, but not with joy. They hum with unease, with a heavy silence that falls just before chaos. In hillside barrios, children chase battered soccer balls barefoot through the dust, while their mothers whisper prayers under their breath. Fathers come home early, not from exhaustion but from fear, because once the sun sets, no one knows if they'll return alive. Explosions echo from distant neighborhoods. Car bombs, assassinations, murders that no longer shock, but numb. In every corner cafe, radios crackle with the same chilling phrase, "Otra victima," another victim. And at the center of this storm is one man. To some, he is the saint of the poor, the Robin Hood who builds homes, clinics, and schools. To others, he is the devil incarnate, the man whose empire has soaked an entire nation in blood. His name is whispered with awe, with fear, with reverence: Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. He is not just the head of the Medellín cartel. He is the most powerful drug lord in history. His wealth rivals the GDP of small nations. His empire reaches from the jungles of Colombia to the streets of New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. But the question haunting the FBI, the DEA, and Colombia's own leaders is chilling in its simplicity. How do you hunt a man who can buy an army with a suitcase of cash? How do you bring down the richest criminal the world has ever known? This is the story of a manhunt that spanned continents. A story of betrayal, obsession, and blood. A story of how the world's most dangerous man was finally brought down. But before we can understand Escobar's fall, we must descend into his rise. Medellín, early 1970s. The city breathes with inequality. The rich sip imported whiskey in guarded mansions, while the poor sleep in tin-roofed shacks stacked precariously along steep hillsides. Pablo Escobar was born into this divide, the son of a farmer and a schoolteacher. He was not destined for greatness, but for hunger. And hunger can twist a boy into something else. As a teenager, Pablo stole tombstones and resold them. He forged diplomas, smuggled cigarettes, stole cars. He wasn't just reckless, he was cunning. He had the charisma of a politician and the ruthlessness of a soldier. But then came cocaine. In the 1970s, this white powder was exploding across the United States, transforming from an elite indulgence into a mass-market obsession. Escobar saw what others couldn't. Cocaine wasn't just a product. It was the future. He built clandestine labs in Colombia's jungles, hired chemists to refine the powder, paid pilots to fly shipments hidden inside tires, even disguised as dog food. He bribed customs officers, police, and politicians with envelopes of cash so thick they barely closed. By the 1980s, Escobar controlled an estimated 80% of the world's cocaine supply. He made $70 million a day. His warehouses overflowed with so much cash that rats ate over $1 billion each year, and it didn't matter. But Escobar didn't want to be just rich. He wanted to be loved. He poured millions into Medellín's poorest barrios, building soccer fields, housing projects, and hospitals. To the forgotten, he was El Patron, the man who gave them dignity. Children painted murals of his face. Mothers blessed his name. Yet Escobar's generosity was matched by his cruelty. Judges who stood against him were assassinated. Journalists who exposed him vanished. Police officers who refused bribes were buried in unmarked graves. His mantra became law, plata o plomo, silver or lead, take the bribe or take the bullet. And when Escobar entered politics in 1982, it seemed his dream of legitimacy might come true. He stood in Congress, promising reform, smiling in crisp suits. For a moment, it looked as if Colombia's outlaw had become its leader. But rivals exposed his ties to cocaine. His political career collapsed in shame. Humiliated, Escobar turned his empire into a weapon against the state. If he couldn't rule through politics, he would rule through terror. And the blood that followed would stain Colombia forever. The year is 1984. Colombia wakes each day to a new headline of horror. Escobar's war on the state has begun. When Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla dares to challenge him, Escobar has him gunned down in Bogotá. When presidential candidate Luis Carlos Galán campaigns against him, he too is assassinated in front of thousands. Escobar's ruthlessness has no limits. In 1989, Avianca Flight 203 is bombed mid-air, killing 107 passengers, innocents, sacrificed in his attempt to kill a rival. That same year, a car bomb outside Colombia's intelligence headquarters kills 52. Families bury loved ones so frequently that coffins run short. In Medellín, mothers tuck their children in at night not with lullabies, but with instructions on what to do when gunfire erupts. One witness recalled, "Every day, you lived with the question, will I make it home tonight?" The United States watches in shock. Cocaine floods Miami, Los Angeles, New York. Addiction rises. Gang violence spreads. For the DEA, Escobar is no longer just a Colombian problem. He is America's problem. A ghost with billions at his disposal, terrorizing two nations. The US and Colombia join forces. Raids are launched. Labs are destroyed. Planes are intercepted. Cartel lieutenants are arrested. But Escobar always slips away. Because he doesn't just buy men, he buys loyalty. Entire neighborhoods protect him, tipping him off to raids. Politicians accept his bribes. Even police officers sworn to catch him secretly work for him. And so investigators ask, how do you catch a man when half a nation protects him out of fear, and the other half out of love? The answer would come, but at a cost that Colombia could scarcely endure. After years of terror, Colombia's government makes a desperate deal. Escobar will surrender on his terms. But Escobar doesn't go to prison. He builds one. A fortress he names La Catedral. La Catedral is no dungeon. It is a paradise of excess. It has a bar, a soccer field, a jacuzzi, even a waterfall. Guards? Escobar's own men. Visitors? Whoever he wished. For a brief moment, Colombians breathe easier. The bombs stop. The assassinations slow. Some dare to hope that peace has finally returned. But it is an illusion. From within La Catedral, Escobar runs his empire as freely as ever. He orders assassinations. He directs cocaine shipments. He lives as a king, not a prisoner. When two of his trusted lieutenants betray him, Escobar tortures and kills them inside his prison. That's when the government realizes the truth. La Catedral is a mockery. They plan to transfer him to a real prison. But Pablo Escobar is not a man you move. On the night of the transfer, he vanishes into the mountains, slipping through the fingers of the state once again. And now, Colombia is faced with an even more terrifying reality. Pablo Escobar, free once more, enraged, and more dangerous than ever. But what no one expected was that betrayal would soon come from within his own world. A new shadow emerges in Colombia. A vigilante group calling itself Los Peeps, people persecuted by Pablo Escobar. They wage their own war against him. Escobar's mansions are burned. His allies are executed. His lawyers, accountants, and bodyguards are hunted down. Bodies appear in the streets with notes pinned to them, for working with Pablo Escobar. Rumors swirl. Was Los Peeps backed by rival cartels? By Colombian intelligence? By the CIA? By the DEA itself? The truth remains murky, a dark chapter where justice and vengeance blurred. For Escobar's family, the nightmare deepens. His wife and children are constantly on the move, hidden from Los Peeps and the state alike. His mother prays for her son, even as neighbors whisper curses at his name. For Escobar himself, paranoia takes hold. He no longer trusts his men. He suspects betrayal at every turn. His once mighty empire begins to crumble. For investigators, Los Peeps is both a curse and an opportunity. On one hand, they weaken Escobar, tearing apart his network. On the other, they leave a trail of extrajudicial killings that stain the hunt with blood. And with every passing day, the circle tightens. Late 1993. Escobar is running out of time. His allies are dead or defected. His wealth, once limitless, cannot buy the loyalty it once did. The DEA and Colombian forces pour resources into the manhunt. U.S. surveillance aircraft circle overhead. Satellite technology traces his every call. Elite Colombian forces, the search block, patrol Medellín night and day. Escobar moves constantly, changing safe houses, disguising his voice on calls, using couriers instead of phones. But paranoia is not enough. Mistakes creep in. The agents hunting him are exhausted, but obsessed. One later recalled, "We knew he was close. We could smell it, but he always slipped away." Then, in November 1993, Escobar makes a critical error. He calls his son, Juan Pablo, from a safe house. The call lasts several minutes, too long. The signal is traced. The hunters finally know where to strike. And the stage is set for the most dramatic rooftop chase in history. December 2nd, 1993. A gray, ordinary morning in Medellín. In the Los Olivos neighborhood, children play in the street, unaware that history is about to unfold above their heads. Inside a modest two-story house, Escobar eats lunch with his bodyguard, Alvaro de Jesus Agudelo, El Limón. He makes one last phone call to his son. His voice is tired, heavy, but defiant. Suddenly, shouts, gunfire, chaos. The search block and DEA agents storm the building. Escobar and El Limón scramble to the rooftop, bullets tearing through walls and windows. Neighbors peek through curtains, hearts pounding, unable to believe the scene. On the rooftop, Escobar runs desperately, firing back, his breath ragged. He's older now, heavier, slower. No longer the untouchable king, but a man on the run. And then, the shots that echo through history. Escobar collapses, face first, a crimson pool spreading beneath him. Some say it was the police. Others claim Escobar pulled the trigger himself, unwilling to be taken alive. To this day, the truth is uncertain. But one thing is certain, the reign of Pablo Escobar is over. News spreads like wildfire. Medellín erupts, not in celebration, but in mourning. Tens of thousands pour into the streets, crowding Escobar's funeral. Women weep. Children touch his coffin as though it were sacred. To them, he was not a monster, but a savior. For the government, his death is justice. For the DEA, it is the culmination of years of obsession. For countless families scarred by his violence, it is closure. Yet questions linger. Was Los Peeps more deeply involved than anyone admitted? Did the CIA turn a blind eye to atrocities in the name of victory? Did Escobar die by another man's bullet, or by his own? And most haunting of all, did his death truly end the war? Or did it simply fracture his empire into countless others? Because even after Escobar's fall, the cocaine trade did not die. Other cartels rose. The violence continued. The shadow of narco-terror remained. The ghost of Pablo Escobar still haunts Colombia. Pablo Escobar's story is not just history. It is a warning. It is the story of what happens when ambition knows no limits. When wealth is built not on creation, but on destruction. When a man tries to play God with fear as his weapon. And it is the story of those who risked everything. The agents, the officers, the families, who stood against him even when the cost was unbearable. But the haunting question remains. When you cut off the head of the serpent, do you kill the beast, or do you create many more? This has been Captain Justice True Stories. If you're still here, subscribe, because stories like this deserve more eyes and more voices. And tell me, what do you think really happened that day on the rooftop in Medellín? Leave your theory in the comments, because someone out there knows the truth.